everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. I was a little caught off guard with our new background. I'd love to hear from everybody what you think about our background.
It's temporary. We have no idea what we're doing here, so we're just changing it every week.
Just give it, because we like change. Change is important.
I even went back to my newsboy cap for tradition. My iconic.
I like it.
Mostly it's just there for the memes because I get memed a lot in my stupid newsboy hat. They love to mock the newsboy hat, but whatever.
You grifter in your newsboy hat. What do you? Yeah.
Always be grifting.
What a week. Always be grifting. Pat, how are you, my friend? What are you drinking? It looks see-through. Is it green?
As always, I bought a green beer can, which works great with the green screen.
I love it.
I'm very smart, but it's New Glory Uba Dank West Coast IPA. It's delicious.
Good.
They should definitely send me a 12-pack for the mention.
I mean, somebody needs to sponsor us if we're gonna earn our grifting title. We gotta have a sponsorship of something. I'm back to my Sky vodka because I finished my the other one, and Sky is cheaper.
I am running out of bourbon here. I'm gonna have to upgrade my bourbon bottle soon.
Yeah, we cannot let that happen. That'd be crazy, especially now.
The show must go on.
In the midst, the show must go on, and as we are spiraling further and further into the depths, we need to, some of us, self-medicate.
Which reminds me, I got messages after our last show last week that I drink too much and I might have a drinking problem.
That is not true.
Just for the record, I absolutely do not. I drink maybe twice a week, but it's for the show. I mean, I like drinking, don't get me wrong, but I don't day drink. I maintain in a responsible way, and just because we love drinking doesn't mean it's good for everybody, and don't medicate.
Certainly, we're not suggesting anyone else should, partake if he or she or whoever does not want to. That said, I think you don't even need to justify it with a response. You just keep doing the show. We're having fun, and no,
there are lots of things that are bad for lots of people. It doesn't mean it should be off limits for people who can handle things responsibly. So
yes, and I just the more I drink, the more responsible I am, the better mommy and wife I am. So don't rain on my parade. Yeah, we're gonna do it.
I forgot we have this banner. We have a few banners. I don't know if we've ever used any of our banners. We should make some more banners.
Yeah, that liquor talking. That's good. That should just always be there. That
you could use this one, definitely.
Gorgeous. I love that. I know you had a couple for me wrong again. That was specifically for me. Although I like it shows up on your side. That's good. Do not reset that because I like that it goes right there. That's perfect. That is perfect.
Well, I'm more left, so I'm on the left.
Yeah.
All right. Should we just get to the wheel and skip the pleasantries?
Because I do have it. So you didn't ask me how I am. It's fine. It's fine, Pat. I'm a little crazy today because my older son's leaving for 2 weeks tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. My younger son has a baseball game at 7 that I need to hightail it out of here to get to. And we were doing, preparing for the show, which is awesome. I'm so excited, but I am feeling a little bit like I want my day to be over when we're done. And instead I feel like I still have another 4 hours. It's one of those days.
At least you have this hour to enjoy life.
I am so excited to be here with you all. I am.
Without the difficulties of parenting, which I've always found so hard. Which is why I skipped being a parent entirely.
It's wonderful, but that's why I drink.
Let's spin the damn wheel. Oh, wait. Before that, we spin the wheel. On my game as always here.
All right. What do we got? Scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds. the end of that saying, in case anybody didn't know. The economy stupid, JFK award, JFC. Juneteenth, we didn't make any clever anything on that one. We're just calling that one straight.
I'm staying out of it.
COVID for all, forever. Let's spin the wheel. Really?
Trying real hard. Really, Will? Really?
We even tested it.
Yeah, baby.
There we go.
Wake the hell up, Will.
Give that wheel a drink. All right. Well, it could not happen to two better people. Zelensky and Liz Cheney are both to receive the JFK Profile in Courage Award.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on that, Pat?
I mean, which one? You got Zelensky. I mean, is it courageous? I don't know. He was the most villainized politician that they've had ever. They really disliked him before all this happened. And now he's heroically basically getting his country decimated. You can put this on Russia. Of course you can. But when you're a leader and your country is getting destroyed, and
you know that the end result is going to be some form of negotiation. So how many tens of thousands of people are going to have to die before that? While you have launder money for the Defense Department.
Yeah, I mean, there's bravery there that you're willing to go down in flames and have your entire country flattened. I mean, I'm not saying that's not brave, but the end result is going to be that, and it's already that. And the better they do in this war, the more they're going to get just flattened. I mean, I hate to say it, but like the history of Russia shows that they're going to, the better you do in the ground war, the more likely they are to launch missiles that are unguided into just hospitals, whatever. And that's exactly what's been happening. And
I do think, first of all, of course, Russia should not have invaded. It's a war crime. It's horrible. We all know that, it didn't start just with Russia's invasion in February. We can go back to the 2014 Maidan Revolution. You can go back even before that to the creation of NATO, and then the expansion and all of that. But that aside, Ukraine is consistently regarded as the most corrupt country in Europe because it's a kleptocracy. It's an oligarchy. I mean, like so many of our countries, but there's a reason that this guy who is on like a dumb comedy show in Eastern Europe, and we were wrong. I think at one point we quoted somebody else who said that he was worth $1 billion. He's not. He's worth over $500 million, which does seem like a lot for some guy in Eastern Europe, right? To be how do you make that money?
And he's absolutely caught up in the Pandora Papers, which got no press here whatsoever. And that's where he lost his country's support before this war happened.
Right.
He was sheltering money off seas, which is pure corruption. But let's just talk about, some more Zelensky stuff.
This is just bans his primary opposition party, seizing all its assets and money. Is that like a profile in courage of democracy? I don't think so.
This is the saving democracy guy too. That's that's how it's put to us.
Yeah. Saving democracy. Banned the nation's 11 remaining left-wing opposition parties.
Keep going.
Banning, I think you're not allowed to ban Russian-speaking schools, Russian books, music. And a good portion of Ukraine consider themselves, they're ethnic Russians. They consider themselves maybe Ukrainian also, but ethnic Russians. I think a lot of people don't understand. That's like if we said you're no longer allowed to speak Spanish in this country or any one of the hundreds of languages here. That is a travesty if you're considering yourself a democracy.
Absolutely. And I would say some more things, but Claire Daly said them all better than me. So I think we should just show Claire Daly,
our girl,
our Irish girl
woman.
here.
Russia's invasion was a godsend to the worst elements in European politics.
NATO dodged being obsolete. The arms manufacturers are getting blank checks, and the Eastern European far right got to bully the rest of Europe into prolonging an unwinnable war against a nuclear-armed neighbour. But the 100 days of hysteria are dying down. Fractures are emerging slowly, too slowly. Western Europe is coming to its senses. Schulz and Draghi want to build peace. Macron is against humiliating Russia. He wants exit ramps. But the extremists in Eastern Europe, backed up by the United States, are happy to see Europe wrecked in order to undermine Russia. We don't need more of this lunacy. We need a change of tack, not to deepen it. We need to end this debt drive. We need diplomacy, de-escalation and multilateralism.
Yes, we do. And that's where it's going to end up at some point anyway. So it just is a matter of how many more thousands of lives are we going to lose? I mean, again, I know we've said this before. I would so much rather, this is basically just a money laundering scheme, right? Like a money transfer from all of our tax-paying money and our government's money, however they make up the money, to the Pentagon and the defense industry. Let's not kill tens of thousands of people and ruin countries. And by the way, like, I know we're going to get into it, but like ruin the economy of Europe and Ukraine. And oh, by the way, Russia's actually doing very well with the economy. So all those sanctions completely backfired. But just give the money to the Pentagon and let's forgo the deaths and decimation. I mean, that would even be better.
Yeah, I mean, how do we get out of this war? You know, so NATO's position is, you know, the alleged position of our government and NATO, which are the same, basically.
Right.
The Chris picture, what's his name? I can't even remember his last name. That threw me off. Anyway.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
No, the picture that was just isn't that the guy from MSNBC? Anyway.
Oh.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But the position of NATO is basically like, okay, it's good for the US to the whole world should keep arming them forever to put them in a position of strength to negotiate.
Right.
But they're already, at what point, like, how strong do they have to be to negotiate? Like, right. the more weapons they get, the more they get destroyed, the less they have to negotiate with.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, once again, the US is sort of standing alone with Western Europe in this because the global South is not on our side. And it's just going to get worse and worse in Europe also. And they're starting to realize, like, they don't want to pay the price for our hubris. So,
right. But the PR is going to bring us all back on board with this war. I mean, take the economy aside. I mean, the effects of this war on our own economy for people like us and not the business class is huge. And so that's why we've got all this PR to just support this war blindly. And here's a little bit of it.
Hello, nice sir. Really nice to meet you. You're welcome. Thanks for taking the time.
Great honor from you.
No,
we know you very well.
It's a great honor for me, and nice to see you. It's really wonderful. You're my hero. You're amazing. No. As you quit a great acting career for this.
Not so great as you.
No, but pretty great. But what you've done and the way that you've rallied the country and what, you know, for the world, it's really inspiring. So
it's too much for me. Chief of office. Yeah.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I can't with any more of that. But it goes on for 3 minutes of this pandering.
Zoolander and
your
Zelensky.
Hero.
Yeah.
That should have been our caption right there. Zoolander.
Yeah, right.
Something.
Yeah, and what is it for? I mean, there's a profound lack of understanding, I think, in our country, especially about what this war really is for and who the heroes are. I mean, but that is embarrassing. I mean, that looks like something out of, you know, what was the movie that Seth Rogen made with about North Korea? Anyway, I mean, that looks like a joke. Yes. It looks like an SNL skit or something. What is he doing? By the way, hundreds of his people are dying every day. Why is he having a meeting with Zoolander? Like, what is going on? This is serious. Like, it shouldn't be. I don't know. I just feel like there should be some, at least like a pretending to take this whole thing seriously, and like it's not just some big production to, you know, destroy Russia and give more money to the Pentagon. I mean, that's kind of grotesque to me.
Yeah, I mean, Zoolander, like what the idea, you know, from their perspective is let's keep Ukraine in the news, and that's the whole deal. But the real deal is to just people like who the hell do we just Zoolander? What's his real name? Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
People like Ben Stiller, so they're passing this popularity on to the Ukrainian war by transference. You know, there's a guy right next to me. You should like this war, which, you know, the American people are just so uninformed about how long this has gone on and what's actually going on over there. And they'll show these clips of Ben Stiller and Zelensky without any background on the war. It's just, they never get a background. They just get a good versus evil. We have to fund this. Just this week, Biden pledged another $1 billion for Ukraine just for weapons. And some of them are long range weapons. I mean, so you talk about escalating something that can't possibly end well. With
a nuclear superpower. And that's like one mistake. And that, you know, we're already giving them strategic advice. I think Britain's really committed even much more to being like openly in this war. It's pretty scary. And yeah, you're right. I mean, blithely, so many liberals with their flags are just going along with it. And, you know, Republicans also, because they all, you know, they all support the same weapons manufacturers.
Yeah. Speaking of good Republicans, the other part of the award.
Oh yeah. Let's go. Yeah.
Liz
so
Cheney.
That's Liz Cheney.
Profiling Courage.
Profiling Courage, who voted with Trump 93% of the time. I mean, it's amazing. All it takes is just one like anti-Trump line, and that's enough for her to join the hashtag resistance. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. She'll probably be speaking at the next Democratic convention. That's how these things work.
For sure.
Because we need a strong Republican Party is the whole premise of the Democrats.
Why are you so sexist, Pat? Why don't you like Liz Cheney?
So many reasons. Don't encourage my misogyny. I almost said something about cankles. It would have been all bad. Oh no!
I would not have done that. Wheel. I think we should spin the wheel.
Good call.
Yeah, baby.
There we go. Scratch a liberal. I actually felt like we had just done it because everything just bleeds into each other with all of these.
It's so similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, should we start with our good friend Hillary Rodham Clinton? Or
it doesn't get worse than her. So yeah, let's start with Hillary.
So this lady who's being asked about our democracy after she helped hand the country over to Trump, basically just said nothing's more important than this coming November in 2024. Our democracy is in peril, which is what they've been saying for, 40 years. And because of that, listen, trans rights don't matter. Defund the police brutality. We're going to have to hold on to that stuff you need, because no matter what, we need our democracy.
Yeah, all those issues, I might support them, I might like them, but I can't fight for them now. Not now. And we heard that last year, the year before, 2 years before that, 4 years before that, 16 years before. That's the playbook, is like, you can't fight about those things because those are divisive issues. Well, if half the country is racist, aren't you going to have some divisive issues that we're going to have to stand up for?
Stand up for your people. And by the way, if you want to win an election, put on your big boy pants and give the people what they are begging for, what they deserve, and what is immensely popular. But they will never do that. Instead, they will just browbeat people and say, stop being a baby, don't take your ball and go home. Meanwhile, they take all the balls and go home to their donors.
Plenty of time to accomplish something. They have had all the time to work. Simple things that could be done with a stroke of a pen. You can say you can reasonably make the argument that a lot of Biden's campaign pledges could not be done with the stroke of a pen. Fine. But what about the ones that could be?
Yeah.
What about those?
Won't do it. Won't commit to ending the filibuster. Won't do a $15 minimum wage. Won't cancel student debt. Won't do a damn thing that the people who voted for him want, and then they're going to yell at us for not voting. I mean, I didn't vote for him the first time, but I'm certainly not voting for him again. If democracy is so important to them, deliver on something. And, they'll say, oh, we have to support Manchin and Sinema in their primary when they're challenged from the left because we need them. And then they blame them for not being able to pass their agenda. And at a certain point, I'm assuming that even the most die-hard vote blue no matter who crowd is going to wake up to the fact that it's the same cycle every time.
I don't know that they will wake up, because what happens is the right gets further right. So the people that are centrists and moderates are more and more scared of that further right. So they accept more and more bullshit about putting your issues aside. And
yeah,
so we let Hillary off the hook. Let's look at the quotes from the article.
Democrats seem to be going out. Okay, so this is the journalist. Democrats seem to be going out of their way to lose elections by elevating activist causes, notably the transgender debate, which are relevant only to a small minority. What sense does it make to depict J.K. Rowling as a fascist? To my surprise, Clinton shares the premise of my question. So I just want to say, first of all, I don't know who wrote this. I have to go back and look. Who wrote this? Lunch with the, it's
Margaret
Financial
Atwood?
Times. No, no way. But like, what do you think happens? I mean, there are all these things that feel so not trite, but like, rehashed so many times. Like first they came for the socialist, then they came for the artist, or however the whole litany of people they come for. Do people still not realize that even if you are so self-centered that you don't care about any marginalized group apart from your own, it's all intertwined. And if you decide to throw trans people under the bus, and gay rights under the bus, and Black people under the bus, and Indigenous or Native American, when does that ever stop?
Yeah, and you would think the Democrats who their whole branding is based on, even if it's bullshit, their branding is based on liberal ideology. It's based on appealing to progressivism.
Yeah.
So, but they're saying give up our entire brand. If you just, I'm just saying, from a moral standpoint, you should support this anyway. You should fight for these issues because they matter. But even if that's not important and it's just bullshit, and you want to win the election, if you want to win the election, you should still fight for this, because this is your base. This right here is your base.
Democracy is too important to stand up for civil rights.
Yeah, but I mean, the important thing is to accomplish something for your base. But now they're not even. They're saying don't even fight to accomplish anything. They're saying don't talk about these issues. They don't want these issues discussed.
Yeah. Because they're never going to do anything about it. They're going to say, oh, isn't it great that we have the first, female African-American vice president, but we're not going to care about police reform or criminal justice reform or canceling student debt or nothing that matters to all of your people. I don't know. It's just so, it's not confounding that the Democratic leadership and the people who are making millions of dollars from their lobbyists and being part of these elite crowds, I understand exactly what they're doing. I just don't understand voters who keep falling for it. But as you said, it's because that Pied Piper strategy, even though she lost to the game show clown that she helped, promote, it actually is a very enticing strategy for voters. It continues to work on some level, right? Because you always are worried about that person who's further to the right, to the monster in the White House,
Right. And if you look at who funds the Democratic Party, they don't really care about these. They don't care about trans issues. They don't care about, they care about the tax breaks. They care about not implementing anything that is going to affect their bottom line. We're talking about corporations and what impacts them. So at the end of the day, if the Pied Piper strategy fails, but it doesn't cause the public to revolt against the two-party system, it's a success. Like the donors don't really give a shit. It's like when you see these people, corporations donating equally to both parties.
Yeah.
like what, know, that should tell you something.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we're talking about Pied Piper because Nancy Pelosi's PAC is boosting they're basically Pied Pipering all over again.
Yep.
So they're
sorry, I had to have my drink to quell my anger. Yeah, go ahead.
You want to take it? Go ahead.
Well, no. I mean, yeah. So they're using this strategy all over the country, and this one that's being called out in this article, that's in a district that it's an R+3 district. The Republican is going to win, probably no matter what. So instead of boosting your own candidate, who's nominally on the left, and pushing the policies that we as Democrats are supposed to stand for, they are funneling millions of dollars into an even further right candidate, the Trump candidate, instead of just like the regular Mitt Romney guy, hoping that person will be easier to beat. And meanwhile, they're propping up that person who will probably win. So if you're so fearful of the MAGA crowd and the people who, promote the big lie and that Donald Trump actually won and who are damaging our democracy. I mean, of course, Democrats are damaging our democracy as well. We saw that all through the primaries. We see that how they don't try to represent their own base on any level. We don't really have a functioning democracy anyway. But what the Republicans are doing are putting people as Secretary of State across the country who will actually overturn the will of the people in very obvious ways at the next election.
Right. And by boosting these people from the left, because you think you can beat them, which they can't beat him in this race. So that's where it all falls apart. I mean, that's one level of where it falls apart. But by boosting them, you're boosting their support from their base. So even if you beat them, you're amplifying the radical views to be part of a normalized Republican view. So you are making that more centered as a Republican position than it was before you got into this bullshit of amplifying that person.
Yep.
Even if they lose, because now the Republican Party's in a position in that race to say, well, that almost worked. Look how much people support these views. We have to go back to these views. And it just keeps this Trumpism bullshit going. Yep.
But it's not just that one race. Okay. They are doing it in Axios. They showed they're doing it all over. I'm not going to be able to read this very easily, but they're doing it in California's 22nd district. They are doing it in California's 40th district. They are doing it in, I think, Colorado also. Is that where it is? Colorado, Pennsylvania. Yeah. I mean, so this is the new normal, is that I don't know why I keep putting myself, it's not my party, but the Democrats keep funneling money into by the way, and I know we've said this so many times, all Republicans are Trump. To me, there's no difference. So I think it's all bullshit anyway to try to make a, line between a George W. Bush or a Trump. They're the same. But the fact that Democrats are using Democratic money that's coming to them for these super PACs. So when Nancy Pelosi and all these Democrats text, people like the MSNBC crowd voters over and over every day, or, the PAC for our democracy, progressive PAC, all of these things, and people are giving money because they're so scared. You don't want, what's his name? Trump. You don't want DeSantis. You don't want any of these far right Yahoo MAGA people. You're giving your money to all of these progressive super PACs and the Nancy Pelosi's, and they are using your money to run ads pushing, promoting these
boosting the radical
MAGA
views.
Yeah. I mean, wake up, people. Nobody should be giving money to anybody who's attached to the DNC on any level.
And this is where we're doomed. I mean, this is where electoral politics is doomed, at least, because our normie friends are going to consistently not know that information. They are consistently not going to know what happens with the PAC. They're just going to get emails, fear mongering. They're going to watch MSNBC. They're going to watch CNN. They're not going to have the facts on anything that is happening within the party. They're just going to see good versus evil, just like Ukraine. There's good versus evil. There's Democrats good, Republicans evil, and Republicans are evil across the board. There's nothing good in the Republican Party.
Right.
But they're
going to most of the Democrats. Oh, Pat's frozen. I get to talk all I want. Okay, Pat, he's frozen. Look at that. Oh my God. What if it's just me for the rest of the show? Can you all handle it? All right, I'm going to keep going because what I also think is really fascinating, if you remember, I'm sorry, Pat, I'm just going to keep talking. Oh my God. What I also think is fascinating is that when Bernie in 2020 looked like he was going to win the nomination, Bloomberg, Mike Bloomberg, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, they were all asked point blank at different times separately, will you commit to, unity and voting blue no matter who if Bernie is the nominee? And those three disgusting people said no, they would not commit to supporting Bernie. Oh, Pat just left. Oh my God. And we lost the wheel. They wouldn't commit to it. They wouldn't commit to supporting Bernie, knowing that Trump was going to be the opponent. So, when it comes right down to it, they are much more comfortable winning with Trump than, losing to Trump than winning with Bernie. And, we just saw with Macron I can't believe I'm sitting here talking and Pat just left. So don't leave, everybody. Macron, who just lost his majority in parliament, and Bernie called him out on it. He made an offer to Le Pen to form a unity, in the French elections, given the choice between progressives who want to increase taxes on the rich or right-wing extremists who are viciously anti-immigrant, the pro-business centrist party of Macron just couldn't make a choice. There's a lesson to be learned here. Macron floated the idea of a national unity government of him and Marie Le Pen, and then she declined. But, she is a far-right fascist. So there's Macron, who's supposed to be some, centrist, liberal, who feels more comfortable. Pat's texting me. He's on his way back. Who feels more comfortable with the far right, fascist. So that's where we are. I'm trying to see if we have any good thing on that. I'm just sort of looking to see what our videos are. Okay. Liberal, the dumb betrayal. Yes, we know. Okay. The other thing that's happening in the UK right now is the rail workers are on strike. And of course, the Tories are against it, but also the head of the Labour Party has condemned the strikers. And so the head of the RMT union there went on to talk about the price gouging and what's important for the working class to stand up against them. So let's take a look.
The chief execs are still raking in millions of pounds a year in wages, and the people that are telling us to rein in our belts are the people who are raking in profits from the industry.
It just seems ungrateful. I mean, it amounted to £160,000 per rail worker to keep the passenger service.
Well, if only my members got that 160,000.
No, of course they didn't get it. It was to keep the service going. They get a pretty good. They get a pretty good whack as it is.
No, they don't.
But there was not one lost job. Not one was even furloughed. So there was no loss of basic pay.
Well, you wouldn't be furloughed if you were doing your job, would you?
You
only get furloughed when you're not doing your job.
There wasn't that much to do because there were so few people travelling on the trains.
The services ran on a timetable.
Intact. And unlike many rail commuters who did have their pay cut, and now they face a further pay cut because they can't go to work. As I say, it just seems unfair.
But it seems unfair that the reward for our people who were described as Grant Shapps, their minister, as heroes, are now being reduced to zeros. They're getting nothing in pay, and they're being told that thousands of them are going to lose their job. They're also being told that their conditions that we've negotiated with those companies are going to be ripped up, and that their work-life balance will be disrupted, and that their whole lifestyle will be changed by these cuts. and they're not prepared to accept it. Working class people in this country need a pay rise. That's one of the best answers to the cost of living crisis. And the fact is that the companies and the government are trying to suppress wages and trying to rip up people's conditions to make them precarious and vulnerable so that they can maximize their profit.
So that's him talking back to, you know, the journalist on BBC or whatever that is, they always try to make it seem like the workers are the problem. Like, you know, it's too important. We can't, if it's so important that the rail workers are, he's texting me, he needs a show link. Oh my God. So funny, right before the show started. And I was like, I think I even said at the beginning, I have so many things I have to take care of today. And now I'm going to send Pat the link to his show, which I will in a second. But if it is so important for the rail workers to do their jobs, then pay them what they deserve. But of course, that's never what the ruling class will ever, you know, that's never the side they come down on. It's always, sorry, I need to send him the show link. I don't even know how to do that right now. How do I send him the show link? Bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to send him the show link right now. And then I'm going to kill him. 1 second. And send him the show. That's me talking right while now. I send him the show link. Sorry. I need to invite him into this, and I don't know how to do it from here. Invite. There I go. Copy the clipboard. I'm inviting him now. Oh my God. There we go. All right. He should be back in a second. And because I can't get the wheel up on my own here, I am so sorry to say. Anyway, it's massively depressing because it's really clear that, of course, our leaders and the moneyed class, they will always side with their donors and with it's always class solidarity. So I do really love seeing people like Mick Lynch. I love seeing, you know, Sarah Nelson, I think handles herself really well. I know a lot of us have been really disappointed there. I think he is disappointed with union leaders in this country who seem to always they don't have a combative militant stance against the CEOs and the employers, and they are very willing to compromise and sell out their people. So anytime we see somebody who is willing to, you know, speak up, Pat, I'm adding you to the stream. Can I? Just so I don't feel so lonely up here. And I don't have the wheel, so I don't know what to do about that. We can just take a shot.
And you can't go to the wheel?
I can't find the wheel. But we know the topics. What'd you say?
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it was not, I don't see that it was saved. And so I can't find it here.
Don't worry about the wheel, but you can hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can see
okay,
you, P. Diddy.
I'm P. Diddy. That's great. I'm P. Diddy. All right. Well,
I'm with Kaylin. When in doubt. Oh,
so,
really?
So my computer is frozen. I booted it up twice. I'll have to fix it later, but the wheel just landed on shot. I'm just telling you.
Look at that. How'd you know? I trust you. I totally trust you. All right, everybody. Cheers. Shot.
Damn it.
That's going to make the show go so much better for me now. Okay. So what do you want to talk about next? We got COVID, we got Juneteenth, and we have the economy. What do you think? What's the wheel say, Pat? Where should we go?
The wheel landed on shot again, believe it or not.
Shut the front door. Of course it did.
It did.
Of course it did, my lovely wheel. I knew. Jill says she's having a dark and stormy. Cheers.
And now that's like a rum drink, I think, right?
I don't know.
Sounds
is it?
Whatever.
It sounds like it. I love my face is very red. It must be all the lights on me and not all the alcohol. Oh my, I'm putting ice on my face right now. All right, we haven't talked about in a while because it's over. COVID. Do you want to just take a quick look at the map just so we are all on the same page in our post-COVID world? This is the map today. That looks lovely. What do you think about that map? Can you see the map? Can you see, Pat, or what's your situation? I can't tell.
I just see you. That's all I see.
Oh.
And you're teeny on my phone, so it's really kind of ridiculous here, but that's okay. So I've seen the COVID map. I know we're doing great, and COVID is gone.
COVID's gone. We're great. But there are some new studies out that I will just narrate so you know which ones I'm putting up right now. Just a reminder about the breakthrough deaths in the first 2 months of this year. That's the green bar on the bottom of the graph. It's 40% in February, 42% in January of the deaths from COVID were people who were fully vaccinated. The other thing that they are finding is that, yeah. Oh, if you're just going to lag, I'm just going to monologue it. Oh, I'm joking.
Well, I mean, the obvious point is that the public is misinformed on COVID. If the public actually knew the risks involved right now, and that being vaccinated does not protect you from long-term COVID, and the fact that you are to have long-term damaging effects. So even if you have a minimal COVID experience, and again, you are seriously at risk for some long-term health issues. And so that would really play into how people think about their risk decision-making.
It absolutely would. And, we're kind of in the middle of a global experiment right now where they're just letting it rip. And our immunity is not actually getting boosted by having infections. Reinfections are rampant. And with each reinfection, there are even greater risk of serious issues. I mean, I don't know if anybody can see this, but there's like kidney disease, diabetes, brain issues. I mean, it doesn't, just because you've had a minor infection doesn't mean that you're not going to end up with long-term issues. And again, as you said, people are so under-informed about this because they've tried to just gloss over everything and get everyone back to work. But when people are polled about it, they say, if it's necessary, and this is overwhelmingly, we showed this map last week, but I want to show it again, that people are in favor of indoor mask mandates when necessary. But even in like the deepest red states. But right now they just don't know it's necessary because the map that we are showing that's all red, you have to go in and manipulate the default settings, because the map that you see when you first just go to the COVID map is green because it's just about hospitalizations. But that's not where the story of COVID ends, is just, if you've been hospitalized and it's a truly serious issue. So I think it is. And
all are so skewed incorrectly because the testing is done at home now. People at home, you're supposed to support how many risking you people go to work per. Sorry, my mic got now.
Oh boy. All right, Pat. What Pat was saying was, are you talking now?
I am, but my mic kept saying it was muted for some reason, and I'm not muting my mic, so I don't know.
All right. So sorry. Say what you were saying again. If people knew how serious it was, is that what you were saying?
Well, I mean, you're supposed to self-report COVID, but everyone's testing at home, but people have no social safety net left. So how many people are going to work and not reporting that they have COVID because they have no choice? There's nothing, they're not getting financial backing to stay home for the proper amount of time, which is not even 5 days per CDC says 5 days, but that's entirely bullshit.
Exactly.
But so you get all these people at work around you. Well, you've got all these workarounds with COVID, sharing it, stuck largely, and have a choice. But all this is only because the government is creating this ignorance in our society by not really informing people about long COVID, the risks of reinfection, the risks of long COVID because you've been reinfected, all of it.
Yeah, and they kicked everybody who's not insured, does not get to test for free or get treated for free anymore. So like those are the people who most need, to be tested and treated, right? Or people who don't have health insurance and have it's like, so how many thousands of dollars are people going to be willing to risk by one reporting that they've tested positive and, oh, I feel okay. And if I waited my 5 days, they put everybody in this horrific situation. And we no longer even talk about asymptomatic transmission. I mean, that was a huge thing at the beginning. They just wiped that whole category off. Just because somebody coughs doesn't mean that's the person who gave you COVID, right? People are walking around with no masks on anymore, just spreading this, creating new variants, and you don't know whom to blame because you can't just blame individuals. It is a global pandemic. It is a public health crisis. The people to blame are our government. That is who to blame.
Right. And these frontline workers who are most likely to not, they don't have the testing, they don't have the backup, they're not going to get the drugs to most likely.
Pat, I love you, my friend, but it's so hard to hear anything you're saying. I don't know what to do. It's just not happening. We can't hear you. I know, but I think it's a little difficult, and I feel so bad to make the call, but I feel like maybe we should just tell everybody to mask up and always punch up. Have a great week. I don't know what to do because we still have so much more to address, but we can't hear you.
I don't know what to say either, but sorry.
All right. Do you want to try one more time? Want to try once more and see what we got? What do you think?
I didn't know that there was a flag or something. I don't know. I can't see what's happening.
Okay, I'm going to make the call because we can't really hear Pat. I do just want to remind everybody that kids are now filling up hospitals with long COVID. So the idea that kids are immune is not true. 1 in 5 people gets long COVID. That's in adults. They are now seeing studies of fatal COVID-related brain damage in children. I just think we have to continue to take this really seriously. And it doesn't mean a full lockdown. Like, part of living with COVID is, get vaccinated, get boosted, wear a mask, purify the air. We don't talk about that anymore. Purify the air. That's a great way of doing, there are so many, that Swiss cheese model, and they just decided that vaccination was the only way out. But meanwhile, we're not going to vaccinate the global south because we're not going to release the patents. We don't talk about that anymore. Bill Gates got exactly what he wanted, and Pfizer and Moderna, and let it rip. And now the polio is even, do you see that polio is making a resurgence? Monkeypox, TB. We are now lowering the immunity of our globe with this. Pat, are you back?
I'm here. I don't know how much what I say transfers over, so I'm sorry. I'm letting you talk.
No, it's good. I'm hearing you now, but it seems like there's a consensus, and because we're nothing if not a democracy here, everybody's really into having the shot. I think that's the wheel say have a shot.
The wheel said shot.
My face isn't red enough, so let's do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's go. Now it feels like your voice came back. Maybe you just needed some more alcohol. Cheers.
Well, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry it's not working out, but I've tried rebooting 3 times now, and my computer is just
good now.
My computer is foobarred, so.
I'm
It
sorry.
is what it is.
I'm sorry, but you're back on track, so that's good. All right, so let's talk. We've got it's 5:50. The economy stupid or Juneteenth? What's the wheel say?
I think it says the economy's stupid.
All right, dark and stormy. That's a great segue into the economy stupid. Okay, so Dems' message of ending universal free school lunches, enacting the largest Medicare premium hike in history, restarting student loan repayments, failing to extend the $300 a month child tax credit, raise the minimum wage, or legalize marijuana. Not a very compelling message. People aren't having it. Biden's poll numbers are so low. And now they are talking about how unemployment is at an all-time low. Look at that. Lowest unemployment rates on record.
Yeah, so they're simultaneously bragging about the lowest unemployment rates on record, while their own Fed is promising and pledging and trying to get unemployment rates higher. Larry Summers.
Yep. He says we
Powell.
need 5%. Yep. We need a 5% unemployment rate. Exactly. And Powell says we need to lower wages. That's the problem. That's why there's inflation, because wages are too high.
So they want wages down. They want unemployment higher. But here you have Biden bragging about unemployment rates, which we all know. I mean, they're only up. I mean, the reason they're up is because they've been fumbling the numbers.
I mean, he kicked 7.5 million people off of unemployment. Biden did. So that's one way to lower the numbers, is just kick everybody off of it. Then you got nobody. It's great.
Well, then that's it. And it's the combination of that and the gig economy. You know, I mean,
that's right.
You know, but the whole inflation is the bigger issue here. I mean, I don't know if it's bigger, but inflation is the reason they're claiming we need to raise interest rates, which impacts poor people much more than rich people. Let's not fool ourselves here. But inflation has been on the same track for 20 years now. I mean, it didn't change because of Putin's alleged tax hike.
Right. I mean, even just look at this, right? In the top line is U.S. inflation. That's been going up since January of 2021. At the bottom right there, you see January 2022 and then February 2022. That's when Putin invaded Russia. So it is not, you know, as much as they are trying to message this as Putin's price hike, but I mean, they've been banging that drum for like a month and a half, 2 months now. People are not buying it. 52% blame Biden for those prices. Only 11% blame Putin. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's been their marketing for the last 6 months. I mean, you know, since the invasion of Ukraine, they've tried to put inflation rates going up onto Putin, gas rates going up, but it's just corporate greed, and all that corporate greed is allowed and encouraged by Biden. And now you're looking at them saying, basically, the message is we need to have less people working and
lower wages.
And lower wages. So the party that fake endorsed fighting for 15 is pushing to lower wages,
which should be like $30 an hour right now. I mean, just to remind everybody, this is the cost of living since 1978. The cost of college tuition has increased by 1,000%. Medical care increased by 600%. Food has increased by 244%. Shelter's gone up by 360%. Meanwhile, typical workers, the pay rose just 10%, and the average CEO increased 937%. So there's no way to save yourself out of this. You can, you know, eat all the avocado toast you want. You will never be able to make up for that discrepancy. You just won't.
Right. And what's not being talked about is how we actually haven't historically defeated inflation without raising interest rates, without being punitive to the poor people in the country. I mean, fucking Nixon and I mean, obviously FDR, but do you have that quote right there?
Yep. From Richard Wolff, right? Nixon
Yeah.
did a price wage freeze, FDR with rationing. I mean, there are ways to deal with this. Why don't we tax the wealthy? If we're so cash poor, tax the wealthy billions of dollars and get some of that money back into circulation if that's the problem, right? Or keep them from buying up everything. Like, let's give them lack of demand ability.
Well, it's because at the end of the day, Democrats have convinced the public basically that trickle-down economics is kind of real.
They love Reagan.
Reaganomics is, as much
Nancy
shit as he got
Pelosi
for it.
talks about it all the time. She quotes nobody as much as she quotes Reagan. She'll say that freely.
Right. So Democrats are, the public is convinced that, well, they're not really convinced, but the idea is that Democrats want to convince the public that
right.
interest rates are key, harming people is key because corporations need to not be damaged enough and still provide jobs and work and whatever.
Right.
But you're also actively trying to lower raise the unemployment rate. So
it's really, I don't know how much clearer it could be that this is become just an enormous grift where we are all paying taxes and we have a government that doesn't represent us. It doesn't work for us. It takes our money, it prints their money, and it's just all going to the same top 1%. And the rest of us have just been left behind. And I think, the only thing that gives me hope, and I feel like we should end on some hope, in addition to Pat getting a better Wi-Fi server, is the unions that are just, that feels like a virus I can get behind. There is like a contagion of labor solidarity and working class militancy that I think is the only way we will ever come out of this. So, I mean, that is giving me, Apple stores, Starbucks, Amazon, right. They're really, that's the only way we're going to combat this, because clearly the people we are putting in Congress have no desire at all to rectify this.
Well, yeah. And the only way you're going to change things through voting is to convince your normie Dems who are not impacted by most of these policies at all. The only thing I think that hits their lives normally is how fucked up our medical system is. I think that registers with everyone, because eventually someone in their elite world runs into medical debt and loses their mansion, or
right.
So I think that piece is registered, but these are the people saying, "Oh, don't talk about trans rights." Like, look at the other guy, But they unions and them seeing workers stand up and making the case is what they're not seeing on mainstream media. They're not seeing that on MSNBC. So when they can't go to Starbucks and get their coffee for some reason because there's a protest, I mean, that's how we have a chance of getting through to normally kind of people.
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard because I know the first thing they do is throw striking workers under the bus and say, you're making it inconvenient for us, but that's what precipitates change. Yes. Make it inconvenient. And it's horrible because, we went through, God, I think it was 9 months of a writer's strike here, and the town shut down. And there was a lot of animosity towards writers for striking, not towards the studios for not paying writers, for not wanting to give them fair contracts, right? Like, it's always somehow the people in power who get the benefit of the doubt. It's just amazing. But I think you're right. And I think, this just came out this week, 100 million people in America are saddled with healthcare debt, and that's in addition to student debt. I mean, I think eventually it's going to affect enough normies, as you said, that, but the problem is, and we have to just keep, is that they are always just more worried about the Trumps and the DeSantises. And if they only would be reminded continually that the Hillary Clintons of the world and the Joe Bidens will always ally themselves with the Trumps and DeSantises before the Bernies.
Absolutely. Well,
What do you think?
I know you have a heart out, and since I have technical difficulties, I think we should just probably wrap it. But
Yeah. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We're going to have a special 1-year anniversary show next week. The date and time to be decided and announced in the next couple days. We have to figure out exactly our schedules, but it's been almost a year, so we'll do some fun show theme, and we'll get our Wi-Fi's up and running by then, I hope.
well, let's just hope.
Until then,
We will.
cheers, keep punching up, and oh my god, my face is so red. Bye everybody, thanks for hanging. See you next week.
Cheers. Play that outro.
Yeah, okay, thanks for reminding me. It's coming, I just have to find it. Here we go.